April 21st, 2020, 11 o'clock. It's the regular EUB meeting. Call this to order. We're going to take a roll call. I know there's going to be some feedback issues, interruptions. This is our first time that we're doing this due to the coronavirus and us doing our part. Pursuant to the executive order did, we can hold these meetings via video conference and teleconference. So that is what we will do, and today with many interruptions. So there's everyone. I will take the roll call of the EUV board members first, and then we'll turn it over to the city council to do the same, and then go into public comment, and then presentation, and then we'll go into exec. So Greg Taylor, I think I saw you on a while ago. There you are. Don Boatman, you, Jane Henry, see you down there. Gwen Stapp, you raised her hand. Kelly Turner, I saw you.
Morning.
Morning. Kevin. Oh, there you are. Kevin's gonna leave us at 12. And then Butch, saw you on as well. Finding everyone here on the pictures. It's gonna take some getting used to. And then Eddie Schultz, saw you as well.
Okay.
So that is all of us. LPNL staff, we got David, I see you on. Jenny, you, Andy, Hunter, your name. Yep, there. Joe, are you on? I do not see Joe. Renew, see your name. Okay. Gina Torta.
Present.
Matt Rose. Matt's on. Jason and Troy with principal. You guys here? Jamie, are you on? Like, going to be here in a little bit. Michelle and Olivia, I don't see your name. Are you on?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Turn it over to the city council.
Good morning. This is Dan Pope. I'm not looking at the screen here to see. Let me. I guess I'll just go down the road line real quick. Mayor Pro Tem, are you on?
Yes.
Ms. Joy, are you on?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Massengale, are you on? Mr. Massengale, are you with us? Ms. Patterson Harris, are you with us? Ms. Patterson Harris, are you with us?
Yes.
There you go. I'll call the Lubbock City Council to order. Council, if you leave the meeting, if you would do me the favor of texting me, so I'll know at what point we don't have a quorum. Mr. Chidis, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here, but I've lost video for some reason.
Yeah, I think they've got your video blocked at the moment.
Okay, but yes, I'm here.
Okay. And then Mr. Massengale, are you with us yet?
Yes, I am. I apologize. I had to step off for an important call, so
That's quite okay. If you'll let me know when you leave, and so we need to adjourn, and I'll go back to you now, Mr. Odom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, this brings us to item 2, public comment. Mr. Rose, do you have any emails that were sent in?
We did not get any public comment.
All right, that will bring us to item 3, presentation and discussion of administrative, operational, and financial impacts and issues caused by or related to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as measures implemented to mitigate or address the same. Mr. Burcham.
All right, let me get my slide presentation up. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
All right. So our presentation today is related to the impacts that we've had from a business perspective and also from a customer perspective over the last about month and a half, I guess, or a little over a month. I wanted to go over some of the issues of business impact and how we're operating on a day-to-day basis. First of all, our walk-in lobby, as you all know, has been closed for walk-in traffic. We've transitioned all of our in-person customer service activities to the outdoor kiosk. We're also promoting remote customer service, which would be calling into our call center or emailing our call center, or we've also been promoting our website, which basically provides all the information and activities that customers need on a day-to-day basis. We have also, from an office perspective, we've reduced our office staff by approximately 1/2. The other half is currently working at home. We are swapping out those on a weekly basis to try to mitigate the spread if that did occur. We do have our field crews that are fully staffed and are reporting to work, not to the office, but they start their workday from home. If they have any equipment needs or if they need to pick up any work orders or anything like that, we're providing curbside service for them so they can stop by the office and we can run out whatever equipment or information they need. I know that, as you know, we still have our AMI project and building system project are ongoing, and the contractors are still working and installing the advanced meters. We have changed that process, though, where there's no direct customer contact. And so that slowed that process a little bit, but we're still able to continue with that installation process. We're about 90% complete. And so that process will be a little bit slower than what we'd hoped for, but we are still moving forward on that. Same with the billing system. We have had in the past a considerable number of consultants in-house working on the project. They have all gone remotely and doing their work remotely. We do need to begin training very shortly on all of that new system for our call center reps, and we're converting that to virtual training, which we hope to begin in the month of May. Again, that timeline was impacted just because of the little bit of a slowdown for not having folks all available and together all the time. From a customer assistance perspective, as you all know, we did suspend disconnects for non-payment on March the 16th on the first day of the health declaration by the City Council. Additionally, we have discontinued assessing late fees for customers who are late on their payments. For customers who were disconnected prior to March the 16th, we are reconnecting them as they contact us and let us know they need to be reconnected. We do encourage payment, and we're working with them to set up a payment arrangement. We are reinstituting their electric service. Payment arrangements, we are continuing to work individually with customers on their payment arrangements, and as you know, that typically will give you 45 days from the bill date. If that is the first one is implemented, we are also allowing a second one, but we continue to work with customers as they face different sorts of issues in their lives financially. And then also new customers who have maybe been a customer of City of Lubbock Utilities in the past, maybe left us with a bad debt. Typically that bad debt has to be paid in advance of establishing service. We're waiving that at the present time. So if a customer needs new service, we're providing that, working again on a payment arrangement to get them set up. If you go to the City of Lubbock Utilities website, the first window that pops up is Project Helping Hand. So we're encouraging all of our customers to make pledges to help those who are in need at the present time. So that is available right now. Also at the top of that website, if you click on payment assistance, he'll take you to a place that it goes step by step on how to set up a payment arrangement online if you need to do it after hours or if you rather do it without having to talk to a call center rep. And then down below that, all the way down that page, are energy assistance agencies that are available for customers to contact.
Hey, Andy.
Oh, yes, sir.
I'm getting a little feedback on my end. I don't know if everybody else is hearing that as well, but if we could get everybody to mute your line, then maybe that would minimize some of that feedback.
All right. Financial impacts, I wanted to give a highlight over that right now. Of course, electric consumption is down somewhat, and so that impacts our base rate revenues. And what we've done is before the pandemic and before the outbreak occurred, we had models on what we'd expected our load to be. We call that our no COVID model. And we have updated that with the known weather events and weather data that we've had in the month of March and April to date. So then we kind of have a snapshot of what we would have expected the load to be with the absence of the coronavirus. We then compare that to what we've seen in actuality and the actual data as of March and April. And so from that experience, we've seen a drop of about 6 to 7%. That is pretty consistent with a lot of other utilities in the state. In harder hit areas in the country, there have been 15% up to 15% reductions. So we think we're going to remain at that 6 to 7% drop because it's become pretty consistent there. There is an increase in residential load, but an offsetting decrease in the commercial load at the present time. We also have had budget impacts. We've made budget cuts across the utility, and I'll go over those in a little bit more detail momentarily. And then cash flow impacts, obviously with the difficulties our customers are having at the present time in making payment, that definitely will have an impact on our cash flows. So just graphically to show the load loss that we've experienced, this begins at the beginning of March. So you can see we started to see a little bit of a drop, which grew in the weeks 2 and 3. And then we really saw weeks 4, 5, and 6, really that kind of stabilized. It fell back a little bit last week to closer to 6%, but we think will remain around that area as long as the current closures and current business activity remains where it is. To the right there, you'll see revenue impacts related to a 6 to 7% drop. And this is by 2 months, 3, 4, and 5 months worth of that drop. So you can see it ranges from about 600,000 for the couple of months all the way up to about 2.2 million for 5 months. And so that kind of gives you a magnitude of what we're looking at there. What we have done though is we've implemented budget cuts across the organization that exceed that amount in case it's more protracted and extended, and if we see a deeper reduction in load, we have some contingency there. So we have, for all of the vacancies that we have, we're holding those, we're not filling those. We've eliminated as much overtime as possible. We still have to have that for electric outages and things like that that may occur. But that totals about 1.2 million of reductions that we can save aside for now. We've had reductions in our operating expenses of about 800,000. That's across the board, anywhere from office supplies to training and travel, which has been eliminated, to professional services, office equipment that may need to be purchased. We put a pause on all of that. So that adds up to about 800,000. And then capital projects, we have a number of cash-funded capital projects that had not yet kicked off. And so we've basically pushed the pause button on those capital projects, and that totals about $1.6 million. So in total, about 3.6 million in budget cuts at the present time. Looking at
Andy, are those budget cuts for the 5-month period, or are they for 2 months? How long are those savings or cutbacks anticipated for in that illustration?
Yes, sir. That is for the remainder of the fiscal year. So we've told all of our departments to make these cuts and to plan on that being reduced for the remainder of this year through September 30th. Good question.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. Moving along to collections efforts. This is a graphical representation of our past due, anything that's aged over 30 days. And this goes all the way back to October of 18. And you see it's very cyclical. It spikes after seasons where we have high bills, and then it will fade down. So as of March the 16th, the day that we suspended disconnects, you can see there's been a pretty dramatic jump in past dues. So that's rippled through our past due calculations. And so you see that rise, and it continues to rise pretty dramatically on a day-to-day basis. I've also provided on page 19 of the agenda book, there's a snapshot that shows a bunch of collections metrics related to the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm going to highlight a few more of those on this slide. First is delinquency, and what that means is when a customer is set up for disconnect. So once they have not made their payment, they've gotten their calls, they've gotten the reminder notices, they're up for disconnect, that's when we hit delinquency. Before March 16th, before when we suspended disconnections, on average, we had 293 delinquencies per day. After that time frame, and this is an average from March the 16th through the present time, that's jumped about 55% to 455 on average per day. We had recently a peak of about 932 on April the 14th. So this is a trend that's rising pretty dramatically, and so we are seeing some pretty significant increases on delinquencies. Of course, we're not disconnecting those customers because we've suspended that practice. Late fee, again, we've suspended the calculation of late fees, but we still track what customers would be eligible for a late fee. Before the suspension, we had about 1,100 a day that would get a late fee charged to their account. Since that time, that's risen about 31% to about 1,400 a day, but that's an average of the last month. That's again rising pretty dramatically. You can see last week we averaged over 2,200 that would have been eligible for late fees. We had a peak of about 3,200, so almost 3 times the norm on April the 13th. So just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on there. Payment arrangements that we establish, that's to assist customers in delaying their payment, that's dropped. And that's just due to the fact that there's a lot of folks that aren't as concerned about ensuring their payments are made on time. And so that we've seen a drop in that statistic. Payment arrangements, though, that are voided, and what I mean by a voided payment arrangement is the terms that are set up when we set up that payment arrangement. If the customer does not meet that, they did not make their payment on the designated date of that payment arrangement, that's what we call a void. Again, this is an area where we're seeing some pretty dramatic increases. On average, we hit about 50 a day that break that payment arrangement. We've seen about 170% increase on average, but we did have a peak of almost 600 on one day on April the 7th. So we're seeing some pretty dramatic increases there. Last week averaged about 200 a day there. And then just to look at an outdoor kiosk, we've shifted all of the people who are normally coming into our lobby. They're now going different directions. We've been tracking that. We've had an increase in usage on the outdoor kiosk, but it's still not used to a very high degree, about 53 transactions a day, up from about 36 a day on average. So that really tells me that most everyone else has either gone to mailing their payments in or getting the information online or talking with our customer service reps in the call center. So they're handling it in different ways. And so not seeing quite as much traffic out of the kiosk as we might have anticipated. Any questions on those statistics?
Hey, Andy.
Yes,
Eddie. On the late fee eligible, are those fees waived permanently, or are they just put down the road for them to have to pay later?
Those are waived. Well, Michelle, is Michelle on the line? I'm not sure how the system, I don't think it'll come back and recapture those. I think that's not accounted for.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Sure. All right, that kind of finalizes the recap on the business office or the City of Lubbock Utilities side of things. I was going to turn it over to David and let him provide an update on the other portions of the utility.
Oh, Andy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Before you go away, I had a question. I was not quite sure when to ask it about the payment arrangement plan. Now, the question is about the 45 days. Is that set in concrete, or is this on a case by case? How does this work out?
Yeah, we handle everything on a case-by-case basis. Now, if the customer goes onto the IVR, the phone system, to do it, it'll automatically extend it to that 45-day period. Now, if they need to extend it again, they would have to talk with a call center representative. But we're working individually with customers. We don't have no customer is facing the exact same issues. Some customers may say, I just missed my last payroll, but I think I'm going to be back on it again next week. So I just need, a couple weeks here. Others say, I've lost my job. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I don't know how long this is going to last. So we're working with them to set up an arrangement that better suits their needs. So this is very case by case. We talked about, is there a standardized payment arrangement that we may need to change to, but just because of the vast variety of issues that people are facing, we're finding it works better to work with everyone individually.
Thank you. I like the way that sounds.
Okay.
Thank you. And again, because we're all facing different circumstances, I would hate to see that we're steadfast on the 45 days, but I like the way this is going. Thank you very much for the public.
Okay.
Thank you.
David, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Burcham. Okay, so what we've done in the other divisions of LP&L is with regard to the engineering and operations group, which includes the line crews and substations and all that. I'll give you a thumbnail sketch of what we're doing there. Most of the line crews that normally started their day from the office are now meeting at substation sites around town to begin the day. And so they meet with their crew foreman, they get their jobs for the day, and then they depart from that substation. The goal here is to kind of create separation so that if we do have an employee that becomes infected, then we minimize the exposure to other employees. So we've spread our crews out around the city to begin the workday and minimized unnecessary trips to the office. The substation crews are much the same way. They're reporting to the substation instead of starting their day from the office. Service crews, they generally work individually out of their pickup truck, and they get their orders through the remote terminals. And so most of those guys take their trucks home, and so they just start their day from their house, and they get their orders through their terminal and start working their orders without ever having to come to the office. The transmission operators, we have started 12-hour shifts, and we have both a primary and a backup control center. So we have one shift working from the EOC, which is our primary control center. And we have another shift that's operating from the Hill, that is our backup control center. So again, the goal here is to spread our risk in multiple locations and minimize cross exposure of employees. Engineers and the other folks that work out of the Hill are generally still working from their offices, but we are maintaining social distancing and avoiding meetings. We're having a lot more of Zoom meetings like we're having today, and so that's worked out very well. And so we're minimizing face-to-face meetings. So that's it for the engineering and operations group. Production group, we've got only one plant that's functional right now because the Massengale substation is down for construction, and the cook units are under repair. So the Brandon unit is the only one that's really functional right now, but we do have crews that have to, operators that still have to report to their offices on a daily basis. But again, we're maximizing social distancing, we're cleaning, we're avoiding face-to-face contact as much as possible. Transmission capital projects are pretty much moving forward as they have been. We've got the principal group that is continuing to push those projects along. We've got multiple capital projects underway around town right now. If you drive around town, you'll see crews working north, south, east, and west of Lubbock on various transmission and substation projects. Those projects are progressing as we would expect. We have received some force majeure letters from a couple of suppliers They didn't indicate necessarily that they would have delays, but these were letters that we received and we've responded to because we think force majeure is an issue that doesn't really apply to us because we are a critical infrastructure entity, and the projects that we're working on are critical infrastructure projects which are exempted from all of the restrictions that have been passed from the federal, state, and local ordinances that have been passed. Are there any questions about any of that? Mr. Chairman, that concludes the open session unless there are other questions.
Any other questions? All right. The Electric Utility Board is now recessing into executive session in accordance with VTCA Government Code 551.086 on competitive matters of LP&L and VTCA Government Code 551.071, seeking advice of and consultation with LP&L's attorneys, and VTCA Government Code 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, and value of real property. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. City Council will hold executive session today for the purpose of consulting with city staff regarding competitive matters of the public power utilities under section 551.086 of the Texas Government Code. Also, to consider pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers, and to hold consultation with attorneys under section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. And finally, to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property under section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code. Lubbock City Council is recessed to executive session. Back to you, Mr. Odom.
All right. There is another link that you need to leave this meeting and go into that Mr. McCullough sent out. So it will say exec, and Brandon or Mr. McCullough, if y'all have any other advice on that, we'll give about 2-3 minutes for everyone to get over into there. All right. Well, then I know I said it was formally 12:48, and we will reconvene in open session. That brings us to item 7, approve the minutes from the, I'm reading the old minutes. It's not going to do it real well. Get back to the correct agenda here. Approve the minutes from the regular electric utility board meeting on March 17th, 2020. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion there? If not, I'm going to go down roll call on this. And Yes.
Mr. Odom, my apologies. It was difficult to discern who had the motion in the second. Can I get that for the minutes?
Yes, I was good. We've got Eddie made a motion, Mr. Schultz, and Mr. Davis seconded that. And now I'm going to go down the list, and if I can see, if you'll raise your hand. Greg, you in favor? In favor. Ms. Stafford is in favor. Don, are you in favor?
Yes, I'm missing out on part of the audio, but yes, I'm in favor.
Okay. Jane?
Are we approving the minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't there, so I don't know. I don't have any. Sure, I'll approve them.
Okay. Gwen, you raised your hand. Yes, ma'am. Kelly? Approved. Kevin is absent now, and Butch, you seconded. Eddie, you made the motion. So all those are in favor, say aye. That passes 8-0. Is that good, Jenny?
That is. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We'll do that again on the other items that we have as well. So be patient as we get through that, please. That brings us to item 8.
Mr. Chairman, I will hit some of the highlights in the packet material and then respond to any questions that you might have. I would just note in the packet, you can see on page 19 of your packet are some of the metrics that Mr. Bertram showed previously, if y'all want to flag that page. On page 22, we've got the chart there on Project Helping Hand, and I just wanted to mention again that we're trying to call attention to Project Helping Hand. It's a way for those that are able to help those that you know are having trouble paying their bill, and so we're still trying to call some attention to Project Helping Hand. You might also notice on page 22 the meter reader error rate. You see what kind of improvement we're seeing in the meter reader error rate as we rely more and more on the advanced metering infrastructure. So we should see some steady improvement there.
Mr. McCullough, on that, has there been any, I know we've rolled it out and there's more improvement now with it being automated and everything like that. Is there any errors at all that are kicking out due to that process that people are seeing?
I'll rely on Mr. Burcham or Michelle to respond to that question.
I'll turn that over to Michelle if she can.
I don't know. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
You can.
Sorry. I think that there have been some issues related to just not really by the technology not working properly. It's more of a learning curve. So I think that the technology is working the way it's supposed to work, and customers are seeing that what they are relating to high consumption is really usage that we're able to identify for them. But the errors that we have identified are human errors, not related to the technology.
Thank you. Yeah, the process is going good and people are being adapted to it and everything else as the rollout goes forward.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So back to the report on page 26, you'll see where we're at with electric advanced metering infrastructure. We're at 90% installed now. The progress is flattening out now as we have gotten into the COVID, which is slowing things down a little bit. And we're primarily doing commercial meters now. It's probably a good time to do the commercial meter change outs with some of the businesses not as active as they were. So we're working on those primarily. Water meter, advanced metering on page 28, we're at 87%. So there's been some good progress made there. Customer information system on page 30, we're still moving towards a summer, fall rollout of the system go live date, Q3. It's been a little more difficult having the team meetings for that project, but they are making progress. And you do have one agenda item on the consent calendar to approve the scope of work for Cooper to write the interfaces. That was kind of the pacing item for quite some time. And I think with approval of that work scope, that portion of the project can move forward. On page 32, you can see that even though we are, we've got a lot of COVID restrictions, we are making a lot of progress with closing out some of these commercial construction projects that we've been working on. Our folks are still out there setting transformers and hooking up new businesses. So all the ones that are shaded on page 32, 33, and 34 are projects that have been completed, at least from our perspective. I wanted to give the 115 kV program executive summary. We should have Jason and Troy available also if y'all have any questions, but I really wanted to touch on page 35 of your packet, which is kind of a new executive summary sheet that they put together for us, which I really like. Shows where we're at and what the target dates are moving forward. And so the projects at the very top of the page there are the ones that are underway right now and the target completion dates. So you can see the Oliver substation, the expansion tap, southeast Oliver transmission line, McKenzie, northwest of McKenzie transmission line, Erskine to McKenzie transmission line, Northwest Substation, Chalker to Thompson, Holly Substation. Those are projects that are actively underway right now. And there's good progress being made on each of those. So most of those will be complete by the end of May, 1st of June. The Holly Substation, which is a major undertaking, major project, that one will be complete towards the end of summer. But you will notice on that summary sheet that some of these projects have to be completed before we can start other projects. That FS means that this project's got to be complete before the successor project can begin. So, for example, on the McKenzie Substation, shows to be complete end of May. That one must be complete before we can start on the Holly Tap project. And several of those, Northwest to McKenzie transmission line, Erskine to McKenzie transmission line, those have to be complete before the Holly Tap project can begin. So we're still making good progress. We're happy with where we're at. The chart on the bottom of that sheet shows our cumulative forecast on the capital costs, and you can see that we're approaching $50 million right now for this capital project, but the cost will ramp up very rapidly over the next few months. We'll hit 100 million by middle of the year, and then we'll hit 200 million before the end of the year. So these cash flows and expenses are ramping up very rapidly with an ultimate cost of around 300 million. So this is a major undertaking that's underway right now, and we're just starting to hitting our stride on the cash flow at this point in time. That completes my report. Do you have any questions that you'd like me to respond to?
Questions for Mr. McCullough? Ms. Stafford?
I had a question, David, but that page 35 is superb. Whoever put that together, it really gives a great dashboard of what'll be finished in May, what's coming up. So kudos to you and the staff. It's excellent.
I will give credit to Mr. Avent and Mr. Vaughn for putting that together. It's I like it a lot.
Other questions or comments? All right. That brings us to item 9, presentation discussion of financial and capital statements, etc. Renew, are you, or is Andy? Renew?
That is going to be me. How are you guys doing today?
We're good.
All right. Well, we're going to keep it very short and simple today. I'll just walk you through what we are doing. And just so everybody can keep in mind, these are our February financial statements as we're a month delayed. So at this point in time, nothing had happened. Our lives were just perfect and dandy. So starting on page 68, if you would notice, our current assets have decreased $21.9 million. That is just due to our decrease in cash investments and the different things that have a timing differences, along with $6.3 million decrease in our accounts receivable. That is due to the lower payments and our decrease in revenue. Now, our non-current asset side of things just continue to look better and better. We have increased in our construction in progress by $37.4 million when we compare it to the year end. And compared to last month itself, we are up by $10.4 million. That is all in construction in progress category of it. Now, when we go on to the next page and take a look at our liabilities, our current liabilities have a total decrease of $7.2 million. Now, largely that is all the timing differences as to where we were at year end and where we are right now. We have decrease of $11 million in our AP. We made a small bond payment in the amount of $3.1 million, which is what's included in that as well. Along with those decreases, we are being offsetted by the increase in our notes payable program. As we continue to construct more items, we'll continue to see that $6.4 million increase climbing higher and higher as we go on each month. Now, when we look at the next page, which will be our income statement summary on page number 70 in your packages, we do see a decrease in our revenues totaling $3.3 million. Again, now that you must have seen a pattern in this by now, that is due to our PCRF rates being lower as we were adjusted in the prior year, along with the decrease in our power marketing revenue. Now, on the other side, that is always being offset by substantial amount of decrease in our expenses as well, which we have 5.2 million lower expense in our purchase power and fuel adjustment cost. Now that is due to the lower natural gas prices in our region, and those decreases are slightly being offset by increase in our other categories such as personal services, supplies, and other charges. On this, if we move forward to our next statement of cash flow, you would see our operating activities were positive with $2.4 million in there. Our financing activities are negative with $10.6 million. That is clearly, as we construct more and more, the same thing is being reflected in our investing activity with the positive cash flow of $3.4 million. And that is just a quick summary and a wrap up of our financial statements in a Zoom meeting. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Renu? All right, Renu, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Pages here, correct? I'm double back. Brings us to item 10 to consider a resolution regarding possible action on the power cost recovery factor, known as PCRF, providing the recovery of LP&L of all power costs incurred by LPL in serving system demand and energy requirements, as more particularly defined in LP&L's electric rate tariff schedule as adopted by the City Council of the City of Lubbock on September 10th, 2019, resolution number 2019 RO321. Mr. Bertram, if you would discuss this.
Can y'all see my screen?
Let's see, the grid that pulled up. There we go.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, item number 10 is to go over the power cost recovery factor. And just to give everyone an update on that, power cost recovery factor is the largest portion of the customer bill that they receive every month. The charges that are paid by our customers really come in three categories. The first one is the service availability charge, which is the smallest pie in this graph and kind of the light blue. That is an $8 charge for the residential rate 1 customer. It's different for every rate class, but I'll talk more specifically to rate 1. But that covers the customer service, the billing and payment processing, those type of activities. So if you used 0 electricity throughout the month, you would pay that $8 charge, and that would be all. Everything else in the customer statement is consumption driven. So depending on how much you use, it's paid by the kilowatt hour. Or on the commercial side, there's also some kilowatt demand charges as well. The next largest piece on the customer bill is the base charge, or on the statement, it is called the energy usage. That is the cost for LP&L to actually deliver power to your home or business. It covers all of our operating expenses, our debt service, all the costs related to running LP&L. Then the last piece, which is the largest, makes up usually about 60% of the overall bill, is the purchase power. It's the recovery factor, or PCRF, and that covers basically those wholesale costs that we directly pass on to our customers. So again, the PCRF is the rate on the customer's monthly statement that recovers our wholesale power costs, and that's what we're going to be focused on this morning as we go through this presentation. What I wanted to do is I wanted to step back about a year and a half in time, I guess, and show what customer statements have looked like over time and how that changes from season to season. So this first column that I've put up has the customer statement for the winter of 2018 through 19. So that began in October 1 of 18 through May 31st of 2019. So you can see that service availability charge is $8. The base charge, which covers all of our operations, is $24. And then about $50 was related to the pass-through of energy. So the total bill in that season averaged $83 a month. And you can see up again that 726 kilowatt hours is the average consumption during that period of time, during the winter months. In the summer of 2019, this would have been June 1st through September 30th of 2019. You can see the average consumption goes up dramatically during the summer as people are running their air conditioners, they're using a lot more energy. That goes up substantially. The base charge is still the same, that $8 does not change because it's not consumption driven. All of the other rates, remember, are consumption driven. So even though the rate on the base charge is the same per kilowatt hour, due to the increase, that shows a differential between the seasons. It rises about $20 on average from winter to summer on that base charge. The same thing is true for the pass-through, the PCRF rate. It increases in the summer months. Now in that particular time frame, the PCRF actually went down a good bit, but just because of consumption coming up, the overall charge was a little bit higher. So the summer average cost last summer for our customers was $125. Then you go up to the current standpoint, which is the winter season that we're currently in. That started in October of 19. It'll go through the end of May. Again, you can see the service availability charge is around $8. The base charge is the same as it was last winter at $24 if you use the same amount of kilowatt hours, the 726 kilowatt hours. And then the pass-through rate is lower this year, and that's due to, again, we lowered the pass-through rate for this winter season compared to last winter. So the customers this year saw a pretty good size decrease in their average winter bill this winter as well. So the question is, going forward, what will rates look like for the summer months? And wanted to point out that due to the low natural gas prices and due to favorable contracts that we have entered into this fiscal year, we're now able to lower the PCRF rate again, and that'll provide rate relief to roughly 107,000 customers. We have a resolution before you today that would have the effect of lowering the PCRF rate for all customers in June, July, August, and September. It would be, if you use the same amount every month in the summer, it would be about the same savings every month that would be spread out over those 4 months. A reduction amounts to roughly $6.9 million going back into our customers' pockets over the summer season. And if you approve it today, that rate reduction will go into effect, effective on June the 1st. So again, this slide shows the last 3 seasons that we've seen. The new column added is the summer of upcoming June through September. And if you make the comparison to last summer, and remember, the consumption is much higher in the summer than it is in the winter, so you have to compare summer to summer to really see the difference. But you can see about a 6% reduction going from 125 on average to 117 on average per month. And that will help provide relief to our customers over the upcoming summer season. So to highlight what's going on here, the average customer would see a savings of $32 approximately. And remember, that's just for rate 1. All rate classes will see a savings, but they all vary depending on what rate class you're in. But the majority of our residential customers are in rate 1. So that's about $8 a month if you use the same consumption every month throughout the summer. And really, it's an attempt to provide, a reduction in the rates through the summer season, especially during this period of time of uncertainty and crisis financially for a lot of folks. Put some money back into our customers' pockets. This schedule shows what those rates will look like. This will be an exhibit. It's not in your agenda backup today, but it will be a part of the resolution that you are considering here momentarily, and just wanted to lay these rates out. I've been talking again specifically about rate 1, but you can see throughout the energy and demand rates are different for every rate class. But in all cases, that energy rate is much lower than what we saw last summer and even in any of the more recent seasons that we've had. So that's kind of the extent of my presentation. So I'll open it up. I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Robin.
All right. I have a motion out there to bring this resolution up.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the power cost recovery factor as presented in Exhibit A by Mr. Burcham be put into effect for the summer months of June, July, August, and September, and would begin on June 1 of this year. And that is in the form of a motion, Mr. Chairman.
What page is that on? I want to make sure.
That's page 85 in our books, the resolution. And then down at the bottom, what we're saying is the PCRF, or the power cost recovery factor, will be established as depicted in Exhibit A.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Turner. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So if I'm looking at that correctly, then that's 1.776 cents per kilowatt hour for the energy rate beginning June 1st.
That's right. And let me explain, on the residential customers, the PCRF rates are combined on their statement. So when they look at their statement, they'll see one line item. So if you add those two together, that'll be 4.982 cents. That is down from where we currently are at 6.086 cents. And then the prior summer was 5.598 cents. So it's down pretty substantially from this most current winter season and from the last summer season.
But to your earlier point, every rate class gets the same effective energy rate.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
And some like I said, on residential customers, those two rates are combined under the PCRF. Now the commercial customers, they will still see that split out. So they would actually see the 1.17 cents on, like, for example, rate 16, they would see those two different rates on their statement. But I wanted to be clear that if you see these two separate rates for rate 1, and then you compare it to your statement, those are going to be combined together on that. Just
okay. Mr. Burcham, in response to Mr. Taylor's question, I think rate 16P is the only one that has a different energy rate.
I just saw that.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Was there a second to that?
Yes, we had a second by Mr. Turner. Okay. Is there any other discussion or questions there, clarification? Okay, we had a motion by Mrs. Stafford, a second by Mr. Turner. I'm going to go around the video here. Mr. Taylor, are you in favor? Please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Boatman, please do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Henry?
Aye.
Kevin is not with us. Butch?
Aye.
Mr. Schultz?
Aye.
All right, and maybe that motion, I guess no one's opposed there, but that carries 8-0. Jenny, do you have what you need there?
I believe I do, other than Mr. Turner and Ms. Stafford.
Sorry, I have motion in a second. Sorry, I skipped over them, but yes, Ms. Stafford, are you in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Okay. Kevin left at 12:15, so he is no longer here. All right, that brings us to our consent agenda items 11 through 29. If everyone's had the time to go through those and read those and look at those, is there any individual ones there that would like to be pulled out of that? If not, I will entertain a motion for items 11 through 29.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Schultz. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Taylor. Let me go down the list again. Mr. Taylor, are you in favor?
I am in favor.
Mr. Boatman?
I'm in favor.
Ms. Henry? Ms. Stafford?
In favor.
Mr. Turner?
In favor.
Mr. Davis?
In favor.
Ms. Schultz?
In favor.
Also in favor. That motion carries 8-0. That finishes up our business. Before we adjourn, thank everyone. David, I want to thank you all and your staff for getting this together. this is, I know, not been an easy process, but I think we successfully got through this, and hopefully by next week we're all back to seeing each other. So my hair's not outside the screen because I need a haircut. But so I appreciate everyone's service. Appreciate the city council as well. There's no other business. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Everybody.
Here.